Rolling Thunder told me when I was young. He says, in your generation, you're going to see the history of Native America completely rewritten, and we already have, and there's more to come. Is there any doubt that Quetzalcoatl was a space traveler? Because that's the, was he a prophet, space traveler? I mean, where does this information come from?
Well, the Maya themselves say that, they, what they call the grandfathers from the stars. Grandfathers from the stars. There was a particular Cherokee elder that I spoke to back around, 2001 or so, and she told me that in their particular group of people, that they had passed on, I guess, through primarily oral tradition in their little clan, or maybe even smaller than the clan, that they had themselves originally traveled and came from the Pleiades. Traveled and came from the Pleiades.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what Rolling Thunder said.
Well, it's also possible that the Mayans speak of, that these people from the Pleiades visited them and they lived with them for 200 years and maybe married each other and stuff. So it's possible that, some of the Cherokee may have not necessarily came from the Pleiades directly, but one of their parents might have.
Well, maybe they were the so-called Nordic type, UFO travelers. They look human.
Mm-hmm. A lot of the cultures, they time things to the rising of the Pleiades. So maybe there's a good reason they do that.
Because they knew when it was coming back, huh?
Yeah. Or, well, it also may be a remembrance of home. Remembrance of home.
Yep.
The Hopi have in July at one ceremony, Naman, or however you pronounce it, it's called homecoming, homegoing, or whatever. And it's when the Kachinas go home.
Mm-hmm.
And they come back at the winter solstice, around there, somewhere right before or right during it, somewhere in that time of the year. So, and in some of the accounts, the Kachinas, Itotu, and the Holy, I believe, are down in what they call the Red City of South. That's Palakapi or something like that. But and there's varying ideas on which city it is, but most people believe it's probably a Mayan or Aztec or Toltec, some city down there, which the Hopi were in. And the story goes is that there was something going on there, and there was problems, and some of the clans got in fighting with each other or something. But anyway, in the story, the Kachinas that are there, it's a possibility they may be Pleiadian Kachinas. And there's some kind of, I believe in the story, there's some kind of flood or something that happens, and kind of more or less wipes out part of the city. But some of the Hopi clans are kind of told about this in advance, and they kind of tunnel out or escape or get out somehow. And but it's a possibility that because they track the Pleiades too, Orion and the Pleiades, they pay attention to both of them. And I forget, they have a name for the Pleiades, and it has an interesting meaning. It means something. I may be getting a couple of things confused here, but I think it means they like stick together or something like that, hang together.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing interesting though is that we'll connect this back into the white buffalo, because in the book I have on the Lakota star theology, they have a buffalo constellation in there.
Yep.
And the head of that buffalo is the Pleiades. The head of that buffalo is the Pleiades.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then we think, well, okay, what does that mean when we see people with a buffalo skull?
Mm-hmm.
Like the picture I see of your guest, and one of his pictures that we have on the flashing through the your web thing on Vlog Talk Radio, he's holding a buffalo skull. So, in a certain point of view, that buffalo skull would symbolize the Pleiades. And I believe they also use the buffalo skull in at Sundance. So if we have a buffalo skull at the Sundance, and the Sundance tree would symbolize the like the axis of the Earth, then the top of the tree would point to the pole star, and the pole star is pointed to by the 7 stars of the Big Dipper. That's how you find in the old days. That's how one of the most common ways of finding the pole star was to find the Big Dipper, and then on the ladle part of it, you would take those 2 stars, and you go, I think about 5 hand distances or something up in a straight line, and that would take you to the North Pole Star. Well, if you wrap it around and keep following that, it'll actually connect to the Pleiades. So now we have the Pleiades, the 7 stars of the Pleiades, connected to the 7 stars of the Big Dipper. Those 7 stars of the Big Dipper are featured very prominently on the Cherokee in Mexico logo.
Well, the Ursa Major, or the Big Dipper, pointing toward the pole star. That's been on Cherokee clan flags, and of course they're all the same except the colors of the background and the colors of the star are different. But that's always been our clan flags.
Now in the Lakota, the Big Dipper, in the center of the ladle of the Big Dipper is, in the very center of it is where they say Two-Win, or the Blue Woman, is. And they say she is responsible for all the souls being born on Earth and also leaving Earth. Now the handle of the Big Dipper, it will go around and curve around, and it points to Arcturus. Arcturus and the Pleiades are both mentioned by Edgar Cayce. So we have
you know your astronomer and stuff when I was like 12. So you know your sky pretty well.
We just follow the connection. So it starts to make a lot of sense, but it's also telling us something that the Lakota say too, and that's what's in the sky is mirrored on the ground. What's in the sky is mirrored on the ground. Which is exactly what most of these civilizations did. They literally mapped the stars on the ground, like the 7 stars in the Book of the Apocalypse in the Bible are the 7 stars of the Pleiades, and the 7 churches that are sitting under the 7 stars are mapped out in the same position as those 7 stars of the Pleiades. Now, if we go over Gary David, he did some work and showed how the Hopi villages seem to be laid out in the pattern of Orion. In India, I think it's India, what's that big temple thing? Karman-Yapur or something like that. That one, I believe, that temple system, I believe, is laid out in the star pattern of Draco, which is also associated with the pole star position in some periods of time. So there's a lot here where these different cultures would literally map these stars in the sky for different reasons to positions on the ground. These cultures may have been using this information for several reasons that are all interlocked and related. And that is, some of them either directly or through a mother or father or relative may have a relative that comes from one of those star systems. And that may be where they got some certain information.